And hello and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll talk about the importance of addressing mental health issues early on and the mental health disparities that are happening right here in the Bronx. Then, we're going to learn about a book that's detailing the inspirational journey of a person's healing. We'll give you more details a little about that a little later on in the show. And there is a possibility of a 4-day work week. Well, we're going to talk about that and how it's benefiting most companies and employees. And after that, we'll learn about a partnership between the PepsiCo Foundation and New York's largest poverty-fighting philanthropy organization. And then finally, we'll talk to a photographer about how they assist others in cherishing their own precious moments through the power of photography. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way, because right now, we're officially open. And hello, everybody. I am Daren Jaime, and you're now watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers who are watching on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on Eminence channels. Now, you can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. Some things have been going on through the past week. We'll take you through it with some Bronx updates. Well, we're starting off with national news, a COVID-19 report. A recent study following up on a national 2020 COVID-19 study revealed that 15 to 25% of adults who've contracted COVID-19 in the United States could be suffering from long COVID. 3 years ago, the City College of New York launched a national study involving 7,000 Americans and the risk factors of COVID-19. Following their findings, the college launched a follow-up study in July of 2022 to look at long-term COVID effects on those who got infected. Long COVID is understood to be a persistent set of symptoms, that include fatigue, shortness of breath, headaches, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, increased heart rate, and increased inflammation throughout the body. Studies also found a person may be at higher risk for developing long COVID if they're female, have comorbidities such as diabetes, or have had repeat infections of COVID-19. Well, moving on in other news, State Attorney General Letitia James has secured a court order stopping gun makers from selling ghost guns in New York. Legally, gun manufacturers are supposed to mark guns with serial numbers to help officials trace the gun back to the maker, the seller, and the customer. However, ghost guns are made without serial numbers, which can't be traced. Now, Attorney General James says 10 national gun companies will have to stop selling and shipping those parts. The Attorney General won the court order against several big gun names, including 80% Arms and Glock Store. Ghost guns have been connected to several shootings across the city, many across the state, and including one taking the life of a 16-year-old Angelo Iabo and injuring 2 other teens last April as they were walking home from school in Melrose. In city news, the Bronx Community Foundation, the Bronx Borough President's Office, hosted a panel discussing the state budget housing. Our Bronx reporter Chanel Thompson brings us the story.
We're here at the Northeast Bronx YMCA for the State of the State presentation given by Deputy Commissioner and COO of New York State Renewals and Community, Betsy Mallow, who talks about affordable housing, public safety, and education, and much more for the city. Betsy shared insight on Governor Hochul's annual budget and policy priorities and highlighted the New York Housing Compact, which aims to build 800,000 new homes across New York over the next decade.
There are incredible policies ranging from housing policies to climate policies, transportation, but they are all deeply rooted in the interest of making a safer, more affordable, more livable in New York.
Some of the questions that were asked were about public transportation, affordable housing, and education.
There's $1 billion for healthcare transformation. There's $25 billion for housing. There's a tremendous commitment to the MTA and to public safety.
The Bronx Community Foundation's inaugural president and CEO, Misha Porter, wanted to let us know what's her organization's biggest focus for the new year.
So we are really super excited about launching our strategic planning initiative from the Bronx Community Foundation. And the goal is to continue this, right? We see ourselves as a really important convener in this borough, but to begin to have a widespread conversation about what our borough needs going forward, to hear from the people. So as the foundation grows, that we're growing in service of what the Bronx community needs us to be.
For more information on how you can get involved, you can visit their website at www.thebronx.org. Reporting for BronxNet, Chanel Thompson.
And thank you, Chanel. That is all the time we have for our Bronx updates, but don't go anywhere. We are taking a quick break, but we have more open when we return.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. And I can't let this happen to my kid. Of course, it's awkward to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. Hey, bestie, how's sketches, vaping? It's hard to get their attention. Ready? Go. Yes, look at that. You even turn yours over. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping, you have to get it trending. Right, backpack kid?
Let's do it.
First, invite your kid to do the vape talk. Let's try this. All right.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it trending, honey.
Come on.
To the left. To the right. Let's go.
Oh, honey, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
I see a lot of your friends vaping.
Visit talkaboutvaping.org for tips on when and how to have the vape talk.
Fostering a pet for a friend or neighbor can keep families together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And welcome back. Many people became more aware of the importance of addressing mental health early on and providing help to those who need it. In particular, youth are experiencing increased levels of anxiety and depression and are in need of more resources. In the Bronx, mental health disparities are especially stark for boys and young men, with the New York Department of Health reporting males who are less likely to be connected to mental health care across race and ethnicities. Joining us now to give us more details is the social work assistant of the behavioral health team at VNS Health, Jaren Cabassa. And Jaren, good to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful to be here today.
Well, grateful to have you, and happy National Social Workers Month. Take the time to really highlight social workers and the work that goes on. And for yourself, I know that it's pretty intense. And you stay busy, but the fact is that you're very much needed. The work of a social worker, particularly in a climate such as this, what's it been like for you?
So the work of a social worker can look very different across the board. You have social workers in schools, you have them in hospitals, the communities. Me particularly, I work in the community. It's very hands-on. I see most of my clients once or twice a week. And we try to have a relationship where we can just continue to work on the things that we see fit.
Yeah. When you talk about the things that you see fit as a social worker, obviously your umbrella encompasses a lot. You're dealing with people with mental health issues, you're dealing with people with financial issues, you're dealing with people with a multiplicity of issues. Talk to us about the issues that you are seeing amongst the people that you're dealing with. And are there any ones that you can say, like, I see a lot in a prevalent trend?
Absolutely. Well, especially after the pandemic, there's been a lot of or increase of kids that don't want to return back to school. There was a lot of time that was allotted to them to be outside of that environment. And I think going back, they face a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and other social issues as well.
Yeah. So amongst our youth, a lot of needs.
Yes, absolutely. You know, there's definitely a big need. A lot of the youth I work with are particularly males. You know, being able to connect them to certain services or even certain resources it can be hard at these times because not all of them are very open to receiving services, or sometimes there's a negative stigma attached to that.
Yeah, well, you brought me to my next question talking about that because we know there's a negative stigma that's attached to social work sometimes, but you know, when you consider yourself being young, person of color, and then at the same time working within the community, there is that credibility factor sometimes that kicks in because of that. How much easier I should say, is it when you have clients who actually say, hey, I got somebody who actually looks like me, talks like me, I might be able to relate with them in a manner which, if it was somebody else, I might dismiss them.
Yeah, absolutely. So representation matters, right? I think we can all agree to that. Mm-hmm. And you know, to be able to work with a lot of the kids that I've, you know, sometimes has grown up in the same neighborhood or been to the same schools or even participated in some of the same community programs, you know, it's a blessing, and it's great for the kids because a lot of the times they get providers who may not necessarily really know what it's like to be you know, living in the Bronx or living in certain situations, and I count it as a blessing that I can kind of put myself at their level and say, hey, I've been there, and let's get to the next level.
What are some of the greatest challenges you're facing right now?
I would say some of the greatest challenges is definitely due to depression. You know, a lot of kids, especially when you're depressed, sometimes it's hard to actually want to get the help. And like I said, there is a little bit of a negative stigma when it comes to social work and mental health, because a lot of people don't want to be seen as you know, crazy or something like that. And for me, I think being able to relay the information needed, psychoeducate people, and inform them about the wonderful resources that we have at VNS Health has been it's been a little bit of a challenge, but it appears to be working.
Yeah. You've been in the business for almost a decade now. So when you talk about your work, you've seen it before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. How much have things changed for you after COVID by way of the services and what you're seeing with people?
Well, I realized that the in-person connection is something that it's awesome. It's irreplaceable. During COVID, there was a time period where it was kind of hard. There was a lot of telehealth services that we were offering, but you know, I really missed during that time being able to meet face to face, go into the home, you know, go for a walk in the community with my clients, and it's just a different kind of connection, a different kind of feeling to be able to meet face-to-face in person.
So for yourself, the team, how are they able to get connected if somebody's out there wants to get connected and say, listen, you know, I want to have a conversation, I need some services, and you may be able to help me out here?
Yeah, so we have a lot of ways to receive referrals. We get them from schools because we work in the community schools as well. We get them internally because we have a few programs in our building that work with the community as well. So, you know, and we can also be reached on our internet platform if you want to reach out to VNS and vnshealth.org or a phone call as well.
Yeah, a lot of ways to do that. Yeah. Mental health is so prevalent these days. We're having a lot of conversations about mental health. We see a lot of things where, you know, even crimes, acts of rage in school, issues that are tied to mental health. How big is the mental health component from your perspective in what we're dealing with out here? And should we be paying more and more attention to it?
Absolutely, I think we do need to pay more attention to it. You know, I particularly like to work with young men, and I think one of the biggest problems I do see out there is the lack of male role models. Being a male social worker, I'm a very rare sighting. There's not too many men in our field, and so I'm often requested a lot due to that fact of, you know, being able to be a male role model or provide some male leadership. And so hopefully I encourage others to do the same and kind of come back to their communities and be those leaders of the community.
Yeah. Being a person from the community, how easy is it for you to really come in and relate and deal with some of the issues that matters at hand?
I think it's a blessing because I'm able to identify some of the issues, right? From a personal standpoint, especially being that I was born and raised in the Bronx. Programs. I wasn't privileged to go to the programs that were, in the Bronx because I didn't know anything about it, and neither did too many of the people around me, right? And so now that we're kind of getting to a point where there's a lot more programs, there's a lot more accessibility to those programs. I think that is a big factor in what's to come next, right? And that's to be able to meet the people where they are.
I'm gonna throw you the big beach balls, what we call it in television. For a person who's thinking about becoming a social worker, give us the reason why you think it's important for somebody to be a social worker.
I think it's important because at some point in time, you have to kind of look at the world around you. And, for me, when I do, I want to change things, right? And to me, I think the best way you can change things is the youth, right? You have to be able to give them the tools to sculpt the future that, we want to see and hopefully they want to see too.
Yeah. Well, Jaren, before we leave, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk to your fellow social workers, give them a word of encouragement.
I would say if you're in this field, just, go with your heart, be as good as a person as you can, and really just learn how to be empathetic and compassionate to others and understand where they're coming from.
Jaren, Cabassa, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations, National Social Work Month, and we want to give you your props and thank you and keep up the great work servicing people in the community.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, listen, now, if you want more information, visit the website at vnshealth.org, and then also call them at 1-866-986-7691. Again, that number 1-866-986-7691. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Can you see anything different as a pill? No. You don't know?
Fentanyl is being mixed into everything now. There's only one thing that will save somebody's life. That is naloxone nasal spray.
Fentanyl, it's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
Why would drug dealers put a lethal dose of fentanyl in drugs if they know it's so harmful?
Really just all about the money.
I just didn't realize that one pill could change your whole life.
More kids should know.
And welcome back. Our next guest wrote a book as a mother. It's a testimony of the miracle that God did in her son's life after he was struck by a bullet to the head. Bronx Community College is holding a book signing highlighting his amazing journey to recovery. Hearing now more information, we've got the CUNY Office of the Assistant College Discovery Program at Bronx Community College, Jeannette Davila, and BCC alumnus Luis Mendez, mother and son with an amazing testimony.
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning. We're doing good.
Good morning. It's glad to have you and glad to have you sharing with us. And your story is a pretty amazing story. And here it is now making its way to book form. But are you surprised at how it's actually morphed into this book and this experience? Talk to me about this.
Well, my son got shot in the head in 2016, and it was a very traumatic experience for us, for me, for him, everybody in the family. And my faith was an essential in my life at that time. And I asked God, I prayed God, and I said, God, if you lift him off of that bed, I promise you that I will write a book, and I will let everybody knows about your miracles. And that's what God did for me. God actually lifted him out of the bed, and I was able to write the book. I will never forsake you. I have it in Spanish. I have it in English. And this was just my promise to God. He lifted him out of the bed. He did amazing things with my son. He was supposed to be bedbound. He was not supposed to walk, to talk, to do nothing because the bullet damaged many things, many neurons in his brain. and he was not supposed to do anything that he's been doing now. So I did it, and I'm very happy, and he's here next to me, and he can say more about it.
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about this, because first of all, congratulations. I would think that's the most important thing, right? And we thank God for the life experience the experience of, the miracle. I think that's tremendous that you're a testimony to so many people. But for yourself, being that testimony and being the one that's had this miracle happen in your life, talk to me just about being on the other side of that right now.
So it feels like a movie. And I'm still processing that every day as I wake up. I can't believe I'm still alive. God is just too good. Yeah. It's been a process, though. It's been a process.
In that process, was there moments when you said, "Hey, you know what? I don't think this is gonna turn out so good"?
Yeah, there was ups and downs like that, but I just kept holding on to that little bit of faith. You have the white angel and the dark angel. The white angel will tell me it's gonna be okay. You're gonna get 100%. God's gonna heal you. Just be patient. And I was holding on to that voice every day.
So for yourself, how's your life transformed since that? I mean, you've recovered now, and you're moving along. You got this book going, but at the same time, talk about how your life has personally been transformed by this experience.
So I was able to, which I never thought. I dropped out of college. I was able to go back. I graduated from Bronx Community College, where my mom works. I'm now in Lehman College, going for my bachelor's, and I never expected to do any of these things.
Yeah. So, Mom, tell me the story. I mean, what do you want people to know?
Yes, I want to say a little bit about it. And what I want to say is, don't give up on your kids. Luis gave me a lot of trouble when he was an adolescent. When he was a teenager, it was struggles, very hard. It was very hard for me, for my husband, for my family. But I kept going on with him next to me. And I dropped him out of high school. Because he was doing really bad. So I withdrew him from high school, and I enrolled him into the Future Now program, the GED program in BCC, and he was able to get his GED. And I thought he was doing well. We put him in college. He started college, but then again, things came up. He dropped out of college. He got the bullet, the trauma, the injury, and it was very hard. 2019, he was in bed bound. He was still in bed, but he was doing a little bit better with therapy. And I decided, you know what, Luis, let's put you back in college. Let's go back. Let's try to do something. And really, my intentions were to active his mind, not to be just in bed. I was so sad seeing my son, 25 years old, in a bed, doing nothing, with a home health aide next to him every day, 24/7. And I said, no, you got to do something with your life. So we decided to go back to college. I enrolled him in college. And to be very honest, realistically, I thought he never was going to do nothing, because his condition, it was very hard. But he amazed me. Right. Luis every day wake up saying, you know what, mommy, let's do it. Let's do this. I'm going to push on it. And Luis have done, from 2019 to now, he has shown me the strength of the commitment, and he has shown me, you know what, this can be done, despite my disability, despite all the issues that I might have now. What he didn't do prior, now he's doing it. Right. He graduated with a 3.7 GPA out of BCC, and now he's in Lehman, and it's amazing. I mean, he has half of his brain is not connected to the other one because the bullet damaged everything. So Luis is not supposed to be walking. Luis is not supposed to walk, to talk. Luis is not supposed to have memory, because part of the bullet damage all of that area. So everything that he's doing, he's not supposed to do.
Right. Luis, and let me bring Luis in here, because at a certain time, Luis, somebody has to ask the question. You dropped out of school before, right? Now you get a traumatic brain injury. You suffer a gunshot wound to the head. And now you make up in your mind, I'm going back to school. That's, somebody say, well, listen, if you struggled before, the struggle's really going to be real coming out. But for you, you were able not just to struggle, but also be able to overcome and graduate.
Well, that's where the miracle of God comes in. I couldn't do it all by myself. I'm still not doing it by myself. It's all God. I give all the glory and honor to Him.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I think it's an amazing testimony because there's so many people out there that are, that are trying to make it, but you give somebody the inspiration to want to make it. What's your message that you want to leave people before we go?
Don't give up, no matter what's going on in your life. Hold on to the faith. Listen to your parents and people who have positive advice around you. Stay close to your family and just keep striving for better.
Well, you make sure you get to us for Lehman College graduation, so we can celebrate you for that one too, because that's an amazing testimony to have a traumatic brain injury shot and still be able to graduate, still have all your functionality, even though the doctor said no. Here you are today talking to us. So thank you and congratulations to you, Louis. Jeannette, congratulations. Before we leave, Jeannette, how can people get a hold of the book?
Well, we have it in Amazon, Amazon.com. I have it in English, like I said, and I also have it in Spanish. And again, this is just talking about the miracles, but also I also want to say, the struggle of a mother is always hope. Never give up. Don't give up on your kids. Continue striving. Amazon.com, the book is there. And I also want to take this time to thank BCC, because I do have to say that the resources that BCC gave my son helped him a lot. Helped him a lot to actually continue. Disability service was there with him. And it takes a ton. It takes a ton of people. It takes a ton of energy to do what my son have done, and I'm very proud of him. But I'm striving. I'm telling people, please don't give up. Continue. Life doesn't end until it's really the end. But it's always time to continue.
Jeannette, thank you so much. Louis, again, congratulations. You guys are truly an inspiration. Thank you so much for being with us here. And we'll encourage people to get to Amazon to get that book. I Will Not Forsake You, both in English and also in Spanish. Now, I want to let you know now, if you want more information, go ahead and follow her on Twitter. I should say Instagram at Jeannette Davila 6. Now, we encourage you, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open coming up right after this.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Sherrod, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for ya. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
The nation is still seeing low employment numbers, and many businesses are finding it difficult to hire people. So they're compelled to develop new ways to attract and retain people. Some companies are figuring out whether a 4-day work week is a realistic way to navigate the situation, as this research shows that it could actually benefit employees and employers alike. My next guest is the assistant professor of organizational behavior at the Gabelli School of Business at Fordham University, Dr. Sophia Town, and she says a 4-day work week is possible, and we're going to talk about that right now. Dr. Town, good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Daren. Really appreciate being on here today.
No, I really appreciate the conversation, and I think when we talk about having a 4-day work week, most Americans say, listen, I'm working too much already. But there is some research to be able to say potentially a 4-day work week could be at both an employer's advantage and the employee's advantage. But how did you come to this realization?
Well, this question is really part of a larger conversation around human flourishing right now in the workplace. And we've seen kind of after the disruption of the pandemic that we all went through, this paradigm shift or a start of a paradigm shift about what it means to be productive, what it means to have a balanced life that involves work and extra, outside of work activities. and what it means to be a whole person in the workplace. And so employees or even like our students, I'm a professor, our students who are graduating from our business schools, they're really coming to their new jobs with a demand to be seen as a whole person at work. And that involves having a life outside of work.
And having a life outside of work means that work would be in its place, and at the same time, enough time for all the other things that life brings about: family, travel, just relaxation. And so it really would be taking a 40-hour work week traditionally and bring it down to a 32-hour work week. Now, when you run this by companies, what are they saying about this? Because to a certain extent, I'm already suffering with with the lack of employees and sometimes even lack of esteem amongst my employees. Taking them down to 32 weeks, a company saying, how's this benefiting me?
That is a great question. So that's something that question has caused a bit of inertia for companies to make the switch and pivot. But really what the research is starting to show, which is really exciting for us, is that you can have a both and. It's not necessarily an either or. In fact, when employees are less burned out, they're less stressed out, they have less healthcare costs related to workplace stressors, they actually are more productive, more creative, and more engaged at work. And so when we talk about why this is helpful for businesses, one of the main reasons is that when our employees show up less stressed out, less burned out, and more engaged, we have lower turnover costs, lower healthcare costs, and companies know that both of those things are incredibly expensive. It's also more expensive to replace employees oftentimes than to retain them. So there is a business case for employee well-being, definitely. It's just we've been in this current model for so long, and to shift the paradigm is really, really challenging. However, one of the kind of outcomes, potential silver lining outcomes of the recent disruption we all have been through with the pandemic, is that companies were forced to try on a new model. And anytime we're forced to try on a new model, we're kind of demanded to get creative, and we are seeing some potential positive outcomes of that creativity, which is that shorter work weeks don't necessarily equate to less productivity.
Yeah, but as we talk about shorter work weeks, there's also the question about salary and pay. Would a person's salary and pay be affected under a shorter work week?
That is a great question. So the primary research so far on this topic has shortened the work week without decreasing the pay, to see if employees are as productive if they work less and are paid the same amount. Because if we pay them less, then they're going to be less motivated, right, to work. So this particular model will work for salaried employees. It's important to keep in mind that not every employee is a salaried employee. So when we're looking at employees who work for an hourly wage, we have to get creative and think about different ways to make this work. There is some research that is exploring employees who are hourly employees working potentially longer days, but 4-hour days. So 10-hour work days, 4 days a week, and exploring what that possibility looks like. So yeah, I think we need to get a little creative with it.
And you've also had companies already do the experiment for full-time salaried employees too. So what was the experience? What were the results that we found from companies that actually participated in the survey with regards to this particular practice?
Well, in the largest scale survey on this particular question, or largest scale study on this particular question, we found what I mentioned earlier, that both and. We found that employees were actually continuing to do just excellent work and doing more or being more productive and contributing more to their organizations than prior to this shift. So we have happier employees who are more productive. I mean, really, what more could we want?
Yeah. And so there is a push to actually have a 4-day work week, and legislation has actually gone forth. Where are we right now? And talk about that process.
Well, right now we're in the middle of a lot of conversations involving differing opinions, and that is a beautiful place to be, because that's where we can surface diverse perspectives and bring those perspectives to the fore. So right now we're looking at potential policy shifts, but those conversations are still unfolding. one thing that I wanted to mention is that there's also a conversation about worker shortages at the moment. And one thing that I would like to see us kind of look at and explore as this conversation unfolds is to what degree are worker shortages, related to things like compassion fatigue, right? So we're seeing a lot of this in healthcare, law enforcement, and other types of organizations like that, where people are very burnt out based on kind of the emotional vibrancy of their role. And so I'd like the conversations to kind of look at that compassion fatigue and things of that nature, because burnout plays a huge role in how this all works.
And burnout is huge. And when you think about so many people who quit their jobs, resign, but I think you also speak about health issues, right? Because there is an advantage for people in the area of stress, in the area of hypertension, all of those things that are tied to sometimes working this many hours. So have you gotten any endorsements from the health field about this?
Oh my goodness, absolutely, absolutely. There is, Jeff Pfeffer wrote this book called Dying for a Paycheck. I recommend people check it out. It's a really beautiful overview of kind of how this all works. But basically, this is the idea that most chronic illness, and I'm not a medical doctor, I'm a PhD, so fact check me on this, but a lot of chronic illness is related to stress. This is the idea. And stress oftentimes comes from work. We spend most of our time, our waking hours, at work. And so when we're stressed out, we are more likely to develop chronic illness, is the idea. And then our employers are going to have to pay for that in the form of, elevated healthcare costs, time off because of illness, not necessarily directly related to work. Like, you think of like, it's not necessarily directly related to like dangerous working conditions, but the chronic illness and fatigue that we have because of our stress is really putting pressure on the employees, on the organizations, on our communities and families. I mean, the ripple out effect is pretty phenomenal. So
yeah. Well, Dr. Sophia, I want you to know we'll continue to follow this. If we can get this passed, I think there'll be a lot of happy Americans. I know that people in the UK are also looking at this too, but it's definitely something that I think we can do, especially coming out after COVID. We find new innovative ways to do things. We can make a 4-day work week. I don't know if that work here at the TV station, but we can definitely continue to see it for more Americans out there. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All righty, listen, for more information, you can visit our website at DrSophiaTown.com. We encourage you, don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
In 2018, young women in the Bronx received support from a $4 million partnership between the PepsiCo Foundation and Robin Hood. Now, the grant will fund initiatives to help over 20,000 females in the Bronx increase their earning potential, which addresses an acute need in New York City's poorest borough, in which 1 in 3 women are currently living in poverty. We've got sharing more details is the Chief of Grant Strategy at Robin Hood, Sarah Oltmans, Senior Director of PepsiCo Foundation, Charlene Denizard, and also Electrician, Nyaisha Lee, and they all join us right now on the show. And thank you so much for being with us. And I want to talk, first of all, to Sarah and Charlene. I'll ask Sarah, this is a great partnership, I think, because, as you said, it addresses a need that's really prevalent in New York City, and particularly in inner city neighborhoods. And that's really helping to help women when it comes particularly in the area of poverty, and also, at the same time, also in the area of business.
Oh, well, thanks so much, Daren, for having us here today. At Robin Hood, we believe that your starting point in life should not define where you end up. And so for the past 35 years, we've been funding some of the most effective poverty fighting programs in New York City. And we are just really so grateful to be partnering with PepsiCo and four other really wonderful organizations, including CS for All, which is a public-private partnership with the New York City Public Schools, non-traditional employment for women, Hot Bread Kitchen, and the CUNY ACE program at Lehman College. And all of these programs, what they're really trying to do is provide really high quality educational and job training experience for women and girls in the Bronx, and really provide those economic pathways for them and potentially put them into careers in really high demand industries with high quality, high paying jobs with benefits in industries like construction, the food industry, and technology industry.
Yeah. And so you have Nyaisha here, and she's also a person that we're going to bring in just a second because she's one of your great proteges out here, and I want to talk about her in a minute, but I want to also bring Charlene in and talk a little bit more on how you feel this is really creating such an impact in the lives of many.
Yes, well, thank you. And it's such a delight to be here with you today with these amazing women, amazing organization, and such a great program to highlight this work. At the PepsiCo Foundation, we really look at intention. There's a philosophy in philanthropy called spray and pray. You put your money out there and you hope it does some good somewhere. That is not how we operate. We're very specific in terms of where we do our work, how we do our work, with whom we partner. And the programs, and we're more about outcomes. So it's not about just getting someone a degree or getting them job training. It's more, where are they going to end up in their job? And in particular, when we're talking about women and those who are, for the most part, supporting a lot of families around the city, how are we supporting them in ways that are beyond a degree? How are we helping them get there? How are we providing wraparound support? So we're very intentional, and that's why this partnership with Robin Hood has worked so well, because we are similarly minded and similarly focused. In this particular partnership, we were really looking at, of course, we started focusing on the South Bronx, and we said, well, that's not good enough. We really want to expand out. We expanded out to broader Bronx, and then eventually by year 4, we were able to really expand past to all of the boroughs in Manhattan, which was really wonderful. We never sit on our laurels, and we never say, like, okay, the original goal we set 4 years ago is where we're going to be in 4 years. We are always pushing the needle. And so this program was specifically designed to meet women where they are, either in high school with Computer Science for All, helping them get tech training there, with Lehman College, helping women get college degrees and wraparound support so that they'll be able to have childcare and transportation and money for books and other things, or it's women who are in the workforce currently and really need to upskill or want to do something different so that they get a better paying job with benefits. So it's all about intention. It's all about outcomes. It's not about just putting money out there, but really finding high quality partners, wonderful programs that can do such great work around New York City.
Nyaisha, I want to bring you in now and talk a little bit about you. I think that you started out looking to do IT. Now we turn around and you're an electrician. Talk to me about your decision to want to first do that.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your program today. So I did start off in the information technology field, which is also known to be a male-dominated field. I knew that I liked working with my hands, and I felt like that the career path that I was taking at the time was dead end, and I wanted to reinvent myself. And so I decided to go into the labor union. At first, I debated if I wanted to be an engineer, but math is very difficult. So I tried to do something that was the second best, which was to be an electrician. So it's a notch right under electrical engineer. You do work shoulder to shoulder sometimes with electrical engineers. So I felt like I lucked out in that industry.
Yeah, and for yourself, don't go away yet. I'm still talking, so I want to keep you there. Don't mute out yet. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the program and your thoughts on how the program has really benefited and impacted you.
Again, coming from a different background, information technology, I came from non-for-profit or corporate settings. And now I'm being thrown into a site where it's loud, it's dirty, I'm working with schools. So being able to be a part of a construction readiness program really gave me a leg up and gave me the hard and soft skills that I needed to succeed before coming into this business, excited and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, and so Sarah, obviously an opportunity to impact the lives of so many people through this grant. This partnership has definitely created an avenue where Nyaisha is taking full advantage of. How do others who might be watching take advantage of something such as this?
Yeah, I mean, I think non-traditional employment for women is a great example of a program that, we wish that more and more people could have access to it. But, going to their website, learning more. Our website has information about other programs that are similar and might be in different fields if construction or trades is not of interest. But these programs, really provide these hard skills, as you were hearing, but also really work to connect people to employers and make sure that they really know and have a good pathway to a job. And these jobs, end up being, even in early years, double what a poverty salary would be. So just really important pathways.
Yeah. Charlene, talk about funding. I mean, obviously you had the opportunity to, fund this grant, and there's going to be more opportunities. But as a funder yourself, obviously these are the kind of things that you're really looking for, things that have far reach and great impact.
That's right. So I have the honor of heading up our philanthropy here in North America for the PepsiCo Foundation. And again, we do look with using intention and strategy. So we get very focused on where we're trying to go and what we're trying to achieve before we start looking at where we're going to fund or who we're going to fund. We look at what are the areas of focus we want to be in. So for us, it's economic opportunity in the United States, particularly for Black and Hispanic Americans in this country, and also in food security. So we have our priorities focused there. And then we look at where do we want to be. New York, particularly important for PepsiCo, because PepsiCo, this is our world headquarters. We have hundreds of thousands of employees around the world, but we're headquartered here and it's our backyard, so extremely important. And then the next layer would be finding the right partners who can execute. So, oftentimes people think, well, the more money you give, the more good you can do. But the reality is, if you don't spend that money well, just like like how you use your own money and your own budget, you really have to be very specific about where you're going. I particularly love the new program, and I love hearing your story, Nyaisha. I also was a non-traditional major in college, mechanical engineering, highly unusual for women. There were 4 women in a class of 100, felt outnumbered, and now I do philanthropy. So what you study when you originally go in isn't necessarily, going to be your life path, but you learn those really important skills, and I'm super proud of you for recognizing where your talents lay, and also having the courage and the guts to really go through the program and be an example for other people. I love your story.
Yeah. Congratulations, Nyaisha. We want to certainly congratulate you, and that is all the time we have for our segment. But I do want to thank you all for joining us, and keep up the great work. And it's programs such as this that really make a difference. So glad to have all of you on, and glad to see Nyaisha. Keep pushing, girl, because we're going to need to see you out there real soon. All righty, well, we want our viewers to know if you want more information, visit the website, robinhood.org, and also PepsiCo.com. We encourage you don't go anywhere. We've got more open coming up right after this.
Feel the beat of nature at a park or forest near you. Find a forest and music inspired by nature at discovertheforest.org.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I am more
than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. The stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. Our next guest founded his own photography business as an outlet to navigate the terrain of grief after the untimely death of his brother due to gun violence. He realized the importance of photographs in times of grief and how they help us recall special moments. And here now to share more information is the founder of SoNardFlix Photography, Sherrod J. Bates. And Sherrod, I want to thank you for joining us. And you've actually done a great job in your own life of turning pain into purpose when you take photography and you use it now to help those in the area of grief. And as I said in the intro, that a lot of this really comes after the death of your brother. Give me a little bit after the death of your brother, because what was life like for you?
Well, immediately following the death, of my brother, me and my loved ones, we tried to gather photographic memories of my brother, and they weren't many. In addition to the way that, that he passed, I was met with a lot of frustration when it came to that. But I decided to use a little better judgment and take some of those misplaced emotions and gear it towards helping other families fill the void that I was left with.
So when it comes to photography and getting involved in it, how long were you involved in photography?
Prior to then, I was not involved in photography at all. I have a can-do spirit. I've always been injected by that, by my dad at a young age. And I figured that if I can see it, then I can achieve it. So that was my motivation at the time.
And for yourself, I don't mean to cut you, but for yourself, you say, I want my photography to have a purpose. And that is really helping people who've experienced grief to be able to see photography and help in the grief process and also the healing process. For yourself, how do you make the photography a part of grief healing?
Well, all in all, these memories are very, very priceless. So in the process of, I know that, our demise is inevitable. So I found a great deal of joy of doing birthday celebrations and just celebrations with family get together. And those moments you can see where people haven't seen each other in a while, in their place of joy and happiness. And it's my job. It's my duty. I believe that it's part of my purpose to make sure that I capture those moments, because those are the ones that's going to matter when we aren't here anymore in the physical form.
When you capture those moments, it's really part of telling a narrative, a story, and
Indeed.
you want that story to actually be told. How do you define for yourself helping to tell that story? Because the work that you're doing, you're taking these photographs, you're helping people through grief, you're also helping people through life, but you're also preserving some things too for people to be able to have as a keepsake forever.
Indeed. Storytelling is a big part of, my motivating forces. Our history will be detailed. It will be told. How it will be told, it's up to us in the media. And I believe that I have the power of medium, even if it's in a different form in photography, yet it will tell a story for those following.
So you yourself are self-taught. That's amazing. I mean, a lot of people are self-taught these days, but when you take self-taught to a place where actually you form your own business, you got it moving, you got people who are coming to you saying, listen, I want you to also help me with my pictures, and then also be able to tell the story. What amazes you about the whole process? Because now here you are using your grief and you're using it to help somebody else.
What amazes me most is, building a business is a daunting task, especially when you have limited experience prior to. But the portion that amazes me most is when I try to remove myself or remove the business so we can rebrand and regather ourselves, to handle the influx of those that find value in the things that the company does. And even in those times of breaks, I have families that are just constantly reaching out because they feel that it is pertinent that I be there to take these pictures, or the company to be there.
Is there a favorite time of the year for you when it comes to picture taking?
Well, our company also we do school photography as well. So usually, that the holiday times, the usual times of Christmas and Thanksgiving, and then the springtime comes around. I mean, but to be honest, or any time to take a picture is a great time for me.
That's a good thing. So for yourself, what advice do you give to somebody who's had a similar experience? I mean, we've talked to a couple people today on the show who've had, whether it's traumatic gunshots or dealing with gun violence and things like that. What's your message to people about finding an alternative path, especially after being through a life-altering experience such as you've been?
Well, for me personally, this is my loved one, and I would suggest to any loved one who has experienced a loss under those circumstances, the thing that I admire the most in the attributes and the characteristics of that individual that I lost, I try very, very hard to continue those characteristics in myself. So if they were high on honor, I challenged myself to be more honorable. And the list can go on, but I'll leave it at that. I try to take most of the stronger characteristics of that person that I lost and, continue that.
It's an amazing story, and for people who want to know more about your photography, talk to about how they can get in touch with you if they want you to use it for a photo shoot or, come out to an event.
Well, social media, all social media platforms, SoNardFlix Photography, SONNARD Flix Photography. It's just as simple as that. I know most people, that's more their immediate means to get access to some individuals, but our website is www.SoNardFlixPhotography.com. And thank you.
Yeah. Before we go, I know you covered a lot of celebrities. Favorite one to the cover as far as photography is concerned? Most memorable?
Truthfully, I mean, I'm from the Bronx. I admire all means of art. So I love hip hop as well. So anytime I take a shot of a Bronx artist like Remy Ma, I took pictures of Remy Ma not too long ago at the Apollo. That was it. That was exciting for me. And her husband Papoose was there as well, and their beautiful child. So that was dope for me.
Well, keep up the great work. Good to have you, Sherrod. We want to let you know Sherrod Bates, who is the founder of SoNard Photography, and want to let you know SoNardFlix, I should say, photography. Make sure that you get in contact with him. Now, if you want more information, visit the website, SoNardFlixPhotography.com, and then follow him on Instagram at SoNardFlix Photography. Well, we've come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewer, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch Recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 2133, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can, of course, catch a brand new episode of Open with my girl, Rena Valentine. That's coming up on Friday. And we want to let you know this wraps up this episode of Open. I am Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless, and most of all, keep this channel wide open. We'll see you soon.